Hello, hello. Welcome back to Healing Sessions. Today's topic is 5 blocks to accessing your higher intuition. So, if you haven't checked out the other videos that I've done on intuition, you might want to check those out. I talked a little bit about how our intuition is a superpower. Our intuition is something that every human has access to. And maybe in the past, it's maybe seemed like something kind of mystical, or when you don't really understand what intuition is. I know if you come from a highly religious background, you've probably heard that your heart is treacherous, that you can't trust yourself. Maybe some of those blocks have maybe given us a little bit of limiting beliefs about what intuition is, and maybe we've been scared of it before. But science is catching up to what humans have known for centuries, and that's that we do have a higher knowledge, that we do have higher wisdom, we have this intuition, and now we actually have scientific ways to explain how this works. We literally have neurons in almost every cell of our body. And actually, while most of the time we're focusing on our brain, the truth is we've got multiple brain centers, I guess we could call them. We've got our brain. There's actually about 40,000 what they call sensory neurites that have been discovered, I think, within the last 20 years that exist in our heart. I'll go into detail in another video on that. But not only do we have the neurons in our brain, we've got a heart brain. We've also, I don't think it's in the video, but we have our gut brain too. We have access to all of this information if we just unblocked it and knew how to actually use it. So if we focus for a second on the brain, estimates have said that the human brain takes in approximately 11 million, anywhere from 11 million to 20 million bits of data per second. 11 to 20 million bits of data per second. That is massive amounts of information just coming into our cerebral brain. Of all of that data, estimates say that approximately 40,000 bits of information are processed by our unconscious mind, and that consciously up here in this brain, we're only able to pay attention to or to recognize about 40 bits of information per second. So when we're talking about intuition, we're talking about higher wisdom, we're talking about this inner knowing and this inner knowledge, what we're really talking about is this huge amount of data that we're taking in every second. It's about harnessing that so that we can access what we already know. Why limit ourselves when we have this supercomputer at our disposal? Think about that. 11 million up to 20 million bits of data per second. No matter how smart we think we are, if we're only focusing on what we're consciously aware of, which is just 40 bits of data per second, we are missing out on a ton of information. No matter how smart we think we are, that's limited, and we are so much smarter than what we know, than what we realize. Okay, so let's dive right into what are some of the blocks that we might have to access our higher intuition. Well, the first block is overwhelm. We can get super overwhelmed with life, right? We're busy, we're running around. Stress is also related a lot of times to overwhelm. Well, what happens to the brain when we're in stress mode? Actually, the truth is, stress is related to flight or flight. It's related to survival mode, right? When the body goes into survival mode, actually, it diverts blood flow from the brain, rediverts it to muscles. It can also divert blood flow, stopping your digestion so that you can respond in the instant. You don't have any need for long-term thinking, for intuition when you're about to be eaten by a lion. So stress mode actually kind of starts shutting down our intuition. That primitive survival brain kind of takes over. And in order to access intuition, we need to use and we need access to our entire body of senses. And when you're in stress mode, that shuts down. So the first block of accessing our higher intuition is limiting your sense of overwhelm, at least giving yourself some time every day for quiet time, for a downtime. There's so many benefits to that, not just accessing higher intuition, but even health benefits, um, activating your nervous system. There's tons of benefits to meditation. We could talk about that later. But as far as focusing on the blocks, stress, overwhelm, that is a huge, huge, huge block to being able to access your intuition. Related to that is the block number 2, and that is, I'm going to call it a lack of being. Okay. What I mean by that is we are human beings, right? And most of the time we act like doings. We act like human doings. Where it also is kind of related to that overwhelm, but we're so active externally in the external world and in the things that we're doing and stuff. We don't just exist. We don't just be. And it's in that state of being in the moment. If you've read anything about meditation or anything like that, you'll know that what all the gurus are going for is to be in the moment, to be in the moment. There's a reason for that. Our primitive brain, that flight or flight, the stress module of the brain, loves to live, notice this, loves to live in the past or in the future. The primitive survival brain is thinking about things that have happened to us in the past so it could avoid it in the future. It's taking past scenarios and imagining, making up what's going to happen in the future. And all of the knowledge is in the now. All of the knowledge is in the moment. Okay. So I talked just a little bit about how intuition has a lot to do with our senses, our sensory input, that vast amount of other information that we have access to. But we have to stop thinking about the future and the past and wondering and thinking about where we were and where we're going and just be. I've talked about it a little bit before that I don't believe that the Bible is the inspired word of God. However, I do think there are many grains of truth in the Bible, just like there are in many other religious texts. And I think it is very important to notice, since we're talking about this block, that just being, that sense of just being, that even God, the God of the Bible, referred to himself as I am. When Moses went to Pharaoh and he says, "Who should I say sent me?" God told Moses to say, "I am sent you." So what does that mean? I am. That is a state of existence. That is a state of being. And it is in this state of being in the moment where we can access our creativity. This is the state where we can harness manifesting, creating our future for us. And it's also the state where we access our higher wisdom and our intuition, because we are in the moment, paying attention to our body, paying attention to all those neurons that are processing all of that information. We're in the now. Being in the now is critical. The health benefits, like we were talking about with the previous block, but the other, maybe another metaphor we could use is the steering wheel of a high performance car. You have to be, you can't be in your head, right? You have to be focused. You have to be paying attention so that you can respond. And the steering wheel of a high performance car, oof, it can turn, it can adjust super, 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 super fast. That's how our intuition works when we're guiding it, when we're paying attention. And in order to do that, we have to be in the moment. So the first one is that state of stress, that state of overwhelm. The second block is the lack of just being, the lack of inner peace, that lack of just being in the moment, neither in the future nor in the past. The third block to accessing your higher intuition is doubt. Ooh, self-doubt, second guessing ourselves. Man, this one is, tons of people have this. Especially, I think, if you came from a high control religion and you've come from a background that you're imperfect and that you're a sinner and you've been told the heart is treacherous. We have tons of self-doubt. And that self-doubt really, really, really can get in the way of paying attention, not necessarily cultivating intuition, because our intuition is always there, but we might be limiting it because of our own self-doubt. Maybe we've heard this voice in our head. Maybe we've thought about, maybe we've had intuitive hits before, right? Did you pay attention to those? Because you'd probably be surprised at how many times I hear people say, dang it, I should have listened to my instincts. I should have known, or I knew it. I didn't pay attention. Why didn't we pay attention? Doubt. We've been programmed either by religion, by parents, by society, sometimes in general, that if you don't have concrete proof, if you don't have factual data to back it up, it's just a feeling and it doesn't count. That is completely wrong. And why can we say that? Because you knew it. You knew you were making a bad decision. You knew it. You knew it. You knew it. You can't explain it. That's because intuition is a little bit inexplicable. This is sensory information that's coming in. It's this little voice that says, listen to me. There's a red flag. And if we're wise, we will start paying attention to that, because most of the time the doubts are based on that teeny tiny nugget of 40 bits of data per second. Remember, your intuition has access to 11 to 20 million bits of data, and our conscious mind has 40 bits of data. And funny enough, it's that 40 bits of data that says, I don't know if we could trust this. I don't know if we could trust this. All right. So we need to eliminate that doubt. Really, really work on educating yourself about intuition, educating yourself about the power of the mind, educating yourself about how limited it is to question higher knowledge. You might even want to think about it like this. Who told you to doubt it? Who told you that? We sometimes can start reframing limiting beliefs just by recognizing the source. So if it was your parents that said, oh, well, you can't trust a feeling. Okay. How wise are they? How successful are they? How intuitive are they? How in tune are they? Because if they're not so much, then we would automatically want to discount the things that those type of people have said. If it's something that came from religion, well, then we definitely want to rip that out of our brain, because that is going to hold you back. Doubt, self-doubt, second guessing yourself. That's the third block to accessing your higher intuition. The fourth block to accessing higher wisdom and higher intuition is busyness. I did talk about that a little bit. We're running around, we've got to-do lists, we're outside, we're paying attention to bills that have to be paid. We're focused on the outside. But your intuition is an inner communication here, okay? So what does that mean? Well, we have 5 senses. Our unconscious mind, with all this extra data, our unconscious mind is looking for ways to communicate with us. Sometimes we might get an audio. You know what? Sometimes we might hear an inner voice of wisdom. Even when the Bible talks about, you'll hear a voice that says, this is the way in which you should walk. Maybe that's referring to our higher wisdom. Maybe that's referring to our higher intuition. Of our five senses, you will find, when you stop to just be in the moment, when you start paying attention, when you stop the busy world, that your five senses, one of them will probably be your lead, your strongest communication. Maybe it's auditory. Maybe you hear the words. Maybe you feel it. Maybe you just know it in your gut. Maybe you feel it in your heart. Okay. So we've got the auditory, we've got the feeling part. Maybe you see it. Some people are much more visual, and so their unconscious mind will communicate intuition through maybe pictures. Other times people can have smells, or they can even have taste. Those are probably the least common two, the ways that intuition communicates with you. The three most common are probably either hearing something, feeling it, or having some sort of visual. And if you're a busy person, how are you going to pay attention? How are you going to know? How are you going to hear it? How are you going to feel it? And how you're going to see it, right? Okay, so that's block number 4, is being so busy in the outside world that we're not actually paying attention. What if our communication, what if our intuition is screaming and we don't hear it? What if we think that feeling in the pit of our stomach is a stomach ache and it's really your intuition giving you a communication? So part of removing the blocks is take some time away from the busy part of the world so that you can pay attention to how your mind and body is communicating this higher wisdom to you. Block number 5. This is the big one. I saved the big one for last. Negative words. Negative words. This is maybe kind of related to the self-doubt. With self-doubt, we kind of say things like, hey, maybe I'm wrong, or, nobody else is saying this, or who am I to know anything when these people don't? Okay. When I'm talking about negative words, I'm talking about recognizing the fact that this is a skill and this is a talent. Also recognizing the fact that our mind is listening to what we say. And when we say things like, I can't meditate, I don't know how, it's too hard, I'm just a beginner, I'm just learning, those kind of things, when we say those kind of negative things to ourselves, our mind is listening. We are actually programming ourselves, and those negative thoughts actually become a block to not just intuition, but whatever other higher gifts you might have. The more we tell ourselves, I don't know how, I've never done this before, it's too hard. Well, you know what? If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Your brain is listening. And so as we're repeating things like that to ourselves, understand words have power. Our own words have power. They have energy, and we are literally programming ourselves to make it harder, right? If you're telling yourself, I can't, this is too hard, how hard do you think your brain is going to try to support you in accessing intuition? It's probably not. That self-talk is vital. We've talked about that in other videos before, about how the way we talk to ourselves is important. It breaks my heart when I hear people say I'm stupid, or I'm just not as smart as other people, or I hate hearing that, because if you're telling yourself that, your mind is listening. Words have power. So be very, 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 very aware when you're saying something negative to yourself. Catch it and turn it around. Turn it around. Okay, so instead of thinking things like it's hard, change that around. It's getting easier every time I try. Instead of thinking it's hard, this is a skill every human has. I'm learning faster than I expected. Or we have to change those thoughts. Maybe, what if this is easier than you thought? What if this is fun? What if you're learning and progressing faster than you knew? Even if you don't feel like that is totally true, understand that your words have power. Okay. And you're programming yourself. So program yourself right. Start noticing the things that you're saying to yourselves. Make sure that there are things that support your growth, not hinder it. Okay. All right. So that's our video for today. A basic summary of the 5 blocks for accessing your higher wisdom is the first one being overwhelm, that stress mode that we often get ourselves in, where the primitive brain just kind of shuts down. We're in flight or flight, and we therefore don't have access to our intuition. That second block, that lack of just being in the moment. We're too much in the past. We're too much in the future. Our mind is thinking about things that happened and it's projecting into the future. And that is a block to your intuition, because intuition is in the moment. Block number 3, doubt. That critical voice that says, I don't know, really? Is this crazy? Am I wrong? Who am I to think this? Am I sure? Yeah, you did know. And think about all of those times when you thought to yourself, man, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. That's the proof right there. That's the proof right there that your inner wisdom, that your inner intuition is working. It's the doubt that gets in the way. Number 4, the busyness. We're so busy, busy, sensory overload. We're running around, we're doing a million things. And in order to cultivate our inner wisdom, we have to hear it or feel it or see it. And when you get really good at it, you'll get all 3. But you have to access the moment and leave the busyness behind in order to be able to do that. And then the 5th block, it's the negative things that we're telling ourselves. It's the, I can't, it's hard, I'm just starting, I don't know how, this is too hard. Your mind is listening and words have power. So be very careful of those negative words. Okay, don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave comments. I love, 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 love comments. If there's any other topics that you'd like to consider, definitely make sure you send me an email or make a comment. Feel free to share this video with anybody that you want. And in our next video, we are going to be talking about how to access it. So today we talked about blocks. Next up, we're going to be talking about how to access our inner wisdom. All right, guys. Mwah. Love you. Talk to you soon.